Hello, folks. It's Tuesday and time for us to hang out again. We have a warm, sunny, and very, very pleasant May 30th, 2025 here in Germany. As usual, my name is Todor Vodov and I'm back with the 52nd episode of Keeping It Realistic. In the beginning of today's show, which as always is done in collaboration with Chaos, we'll take a look at some recent news and announcements. After that, we'll check out a few of your works from the last 2 weeks, including a work in progress. And by the end of the show, we'll also get to hang out for a few minutes without any major specific topic. I'll just be showing you a few things I've been experimenting with for the last weeks, just a bit on the side, and then just sharing some thoughts with you. And if you have something on your mind, we can discuss this as well. It's not only the end of the show that we can get to talk with each other, though. Remember, we do this as a live session so that you can actively participate throughout the whole show. So don't hesitate to say hi, ask questions, voice your opinion, share thoughts and everything that's on your mind, and just generally be active. And with this out of the way, welcome everyone. Let me check the chat. I see Mario here, Danushka, Mohanat, Amit, Mikkel. So glad to have you here, guys. I hope you're healthy. I hope you're well. I hope you're having a good month of May, meaning enough work, but also enough free time to take care of your private life and your health. You remember by the end of the previous show, we talked extensively about this topic, how important it is to take care of your health, of your personal life, your private life, to spend time with the people around you. So don't neglect this. I hope you have time for it as well, because in the end of the day, it is probably way more important than work itself. Anyway, Mahmoud is here talking about health. Great to see you here, man. Great that you're fit again. You were in hospital. That's no secret, because it was stated under your image, and it's great to have you back with us here in full health, I hope. Anyway, folks, I see you're just having a good time with each other, and today we'll be having a very interesting show. So without any further ado, let's just jump in and start appreciating what we have to appreciate in the beginning of the show, the cover images that are fairly new. So the first cover image is the title image of our show. The images for this one have been contributed by Khadij, Estela, and Alireza. Congrats to all three of them. It's a very pleasantly varied cover, not only in terms of contents. As Amit pointed out, we have an exterior, we have an interior and a close-up, but also in terms of image saturation, because the first image is very saturated, very boldly colored. The second one is more muted, like more desaturated, and the last one is almost monochromatic, like almost black and white. And I think this is a very, very nice transition from fully saturated to almost monochromatic. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this. And now let's take a moment to appreciate also the second image that we have. As a new one, we have a new Facebook group cover. As you know, since last September, it is your works that are gracing the title image of our group. And as a best image from the previous 2 weeks, you chose Mahmoud's concept car. And let me tell you, this was a very thrilling competition. If you take a look at this, you'll see it was a very close call, especially between Prism here with 31 votes, and then the Egyptian Coffee in the 50s by Omar with 28 votes, and then Mahmoud's work with 34. You chose this one to be the best, and I'm very happy with this choice, not only because this image is really well done, but because it is something else, something different than ArcViz. It's automotive visualization, and this shows clearly that our community isn't only about architectural visualization, it is about all types of visualization, including automotive, product, and whatnot. So it's great from time to time to have something which is something else than architecture. So, Mahmoud, congratulations, and once again, great to have you here in full health, and to all of you guys, great choice. I hope you like our new cover image. Now, yeah, you may say, well, it's a bit, why is, the title placed atop of the car? But if I had placed it somewhere here on the mountains, the car would have completely disappeared down here, which would have been a huge pity, because I think the modeling of it is actually one of its strongest and best features. I hope you all agree with me. I see Abdi in the comments right now. Ahmed Taha is here. That's very, very cool, folks. Great to have you here. So let's jump into the news because I don't want to make the show longer than it needs to be. Mahmoud says, thank you all, glad to be back. Yeah, that's really awesome to have you. So, you know, we always check the chaos calendar from some upcoming events revolving around chaos, but not only. We don't have anything new here, no, at least not anything we haven't talked about, so I think we can just move on. The thing is, though, the fact that there is nothing new to talk about here doesn't mean that there is nothing new to talk about when it comes to chaos. And if you ask me personally, I feel that something quite big is cooking in the chaos kitchen. I cannot tell you why, not yet, but you probably saw that chaos decided to rename their social media channels. I already shared this in the group, but let's take a look at it together. So the channels are now named not only after the render engine itself, but also after its main usage. So in this example here, for example, we don't have only Corona, but we have Corona Archviz. Similar with V-Ray, and as you can see here, it's not only the render engine and its purpose, so to speak, but also the, let's say, related chaos ecosphere projects as well. So in this particular case with Corona and with V-Ray, we have Vantage, the Chaos Player, Phoenix, the Cosmos Library, the Scans, and Anima as well. Then we, now, if some of you ask themselves, this is what I asked myself as I saw this, like, why is V-Ray Archviz? Because V-Ray is actually much more than Archviz, and we have people like Abdi here, for example, who use V-Ray extensively, but not for Archviz at all, but for motion graphics. So I was a bit puzzled the first time I saw V-Ray being pushed in the Archviz direction. But if we take a look at 2 slides to the right, we will see that we find V-Ray once again in the media and entertainment group. And here it is in a group together with Vantage, with Project Arena, and once again with the Chaos Player, with Phoenix, Cosmos, the Scans, and Anima. So V-Ray is a part of 2 main groups, the architectural visualization, which makes a huge part of, let's say, the main V-Ray usage, but also for media and entertainment, for motion graphics, animations, and everything else which V-Ray is used for. Obviously, in the end of the day, these are render engines. You can use them for whatever you please, but it's good to know what they are meant for, like with an emphasis on a certain aspect. And I think these categories will also be helping newcomers better understand new projects. Because I know as Enscape was added to the assortiment and then Envision, people were like, wait, why do we need this? We already have Vantage. Well, now, if you take a look at this, you understand, because this is arch design. It's not visualization anymore, it's about design. So this is this AEC, architecture, engineering, and construction field, which Enscape, Envision, and Veras from Evolve Labs are for. And for the DCC, for the digital content creators, we have the Archviz with V-Ray, Archviz with Corona, and also the media entertainment. So I hope this will bring some organization and some order into the chaos projects, and people will better understand them. And I think new projects then can be added to those groups, and people will better get what they're all about. Amit says, studio tour, please. Well, you know, my camera is fixed. I cannot show you more than what you see here on the big screen, unfortunately. But once my studio is free of stuff which is put here temporarily, because all the other rooms are also being renovated, I will take some nice photos and share them with you, as I already promised. I haven't forgotten about this. Anyway, different topic. I shared this as well, but I want to once again talk about it here in the live show. Evermotion celebrates its 20th anniversary. Happy birthday, Evermotion. And for this, they gift us a very huge, really huge scene. You can see here the scale of it. It is made for Macs, with Corona or V-Ray. Once you purchase this scene, it's free to download. You can get both the Corona and the V-Ray versions. It obviously, as you see here in the video, it features a very expensive exterior environment, but also some awesome interior shots as well. So the house that you see here has a full-fledged interior as well. There is an animation included, which is absolutely awesome. Here you can see some of the shots from the interior. Everything looks really, really great. Now, the important part, according to the licensing of Evermotion, you are absolutely free to download the scene, keep it forever, learn from it, so you can reverse engineer it. For example, if you take a look at, let's say, the transition here between the forest floor and the street, and you're asking yourself how it's done or how to do something like this, you can try to reverse engineer the scene and figure out how they've done it, what type of scattering they've done, how they did this smooth transitioning between the two materials, and things like that. You can also experiment with the scene, you can render stills, animations, and do whatever you please. However, what you cannot do is you cannot share any of those renders. Even if you properly credit Evermotion, the people who created the scene, you are not allowed to share any renders, neither on your Behance, your personal page, with friends, or anything else. So it's for your own personal use. Please remember this. You're also not allowed to use the assets from the scene in different scenes. And now if you think, well, oh, you say, are you sharing your screen? Yeah, thank you, Mikkel. Thank you, folks. Thank Amit and Mikkel. I sometimes forget to share my screen. Anyway, you see the scene. This is really cool, as I already said, but you're not allowed to use the assets included in this scene in different scenes. And if you think, yeah, who will know about this? Yeah, obviously, if you take one of those trees and put it somewhere in the distance, nobody will notice, but you won't be profiting much from it. You'll really profit from it when you put it closer to the camera, because it has an awesome quality. But when you put it closer to the camera, believe me, the people who have made it, or the people who sell it, like Evermotion, will be able to figure out that you have used it without purchasing it, and this can get you into some really serious trouble, which you don't really want. And yeah, many times nothing will happen, but sometimes they'll decide to just, do a demo of what could happen, and then you have to pay a lot. So please avoid doing this. Now, if you need a scene that you can post the outcomes of as much as you want, let me remind you about our light walls scene, which is available in the group since January. This is our first free training scene, especially done from me for the group with a little help from Abdi when it comes to the V-Ray version. It is available for 3ds Max and Corona, for V-Ray, for Corona adapted for Vantage Live-Link, because as you know, the Live-Link through Corona is not the same as the Live-Link with V-Ray, and it needs some adaptation of the materials. This is already done in the version that you see up here. There is also a Vantage standalone version you can play around with. It's a VR scene with a configuration file. And for those of you who don't use 3ds Max, there is also an FBX. So there is a lot for you to play with. And I understand that some of you may think, well, okay, that's nice, but the architecture is very typical for Japan, and it is not something which is relatable to my own clients. But in the end of the day, nobody forces you to use everything. You can, of course, you can redo all of the angles. You can try out new ones with the existing architecture. But what you can also do is simply kick off all those interior boxes and simply end up with a hangar-like room, or space actually, which is a 2-story space. So you can actually insert a second story here and make something entirely different, something closer to the type of architecture in the country you live in or work in. And maybe I would do this. I don't have much time because I have commercial work to do and lots of personal chores now with the renovation at home. But maybe I will do an example of this to show you how much versatility there is to this scene, and flexibility as well. So yeah, don't bother to change everything to retexture. But the thing is, the scene is fully textured and fully populated the way you see it here, because it's only Cosmos stuff, Cosmos materials and Cosmos assets that have been used here, so you get it exactly the way you see it here. I know that those of you who regularly watch the show are maybe fed up with hearing about this scene, but believe me, if you take a look at the Keeping It Realistic chat, you will figure that there are still group members out there, even among the more active group members, that still don't know about it or are not sure if there is a V-Ray version or a Vantage version and things like this. So yeah, gladly try out this sim, because of course you need to properly credit this, but when you experiment with it, you can add the shots to your portfolio, you can share them in groups and so on. So there are no such limitations like the Evermotion scene that I just shown you. So yeah, if you want, try it out, and I will try to find some time and create maybe something more typical for, let's say, where I am in Europe, in Western Europe, and create a different architecture within the limits of this house. Now, when it comes to the exterior, let me just tell you, what you see here, these are Quixel assets, which I'm not allowed to share the same way I can share the Cosmos assets, because the Cosmos library comes with the software we all use. This is not the case with the Cosmos, with the Quixel library, but you can do something similar if you wish. This is something I did for more or less half an hour, just to show you that this building also has an exterior part, which is actually looking pretty cool. You can do your own version, or you can try to replicate mine, but I wouldn't recommend this. Just do your own thing. Simone says, it's so cool, didn't know there are some free scene this quality on the internet. You see, this is what I'm talking about. A lot of people, I mean, we have also many new members, like we're almost 7,200 already. So obviously there are always new people who watch this. And yeah, there is a post in the group. It's actually pinned up here. Sorry, let's go to the Chaos Cosmos and Chaos Campus, I'm sorry. And if you take a look up here, there are all the votings and stuff, but somewhere you gotta scroll a bit, you will be able to find the post. Or you can just search for Light Walls House, and then you will get to the post, and there is a link there. And if you follow it, you will find everything that I've already described. So feel free to experiment with this scene. It's very cool that there is no exterior visible. I specifically chose this one because there is not so much exterior to see, like huge windows as we usually have them, because then we needed something on the outside which could be problematic. This is why I decided to go for something which is more enclosed, in order for us to be able to focus on what's happening on the inside and be free to do all the angles and everything we want without thinking too much about what happens outside of the windows. As I said in the beginning, this is probably going to be the first scene. At some point, when I have the time, when I have the passion and the motivation, I will gladly do another scene, maybe an exterior or maybe a more common interior. But at the same time, folks, I don't think that it makes so much sense to do yet another bedroom or something like this, because I think that even clients are fed up with bedrooms at this point. So let's go for something more interesting. I remember I actually showed the scene while I was working on it to a client, and this is a client who works with wood, a lot with wood, and he absolutely loved it. Like, we had a long talk and I was just going through it in Vantage, and he was like, wow, this is amazing. And you know, I think this can get you some attention, so make something out of it. But you're not supposed to stick to what is given. This is just the recreation of the original project by MI Style Architects. You're not supposed to stick to it. You can give this interior or exterior an absolutely new coat, a new look, and make it something entirely different. You can repurpose it and do whatever you please. And of course, similar to the Evermotion scene, you can learn from it by reverse engineering. Okay, so Amit, very welcoming, saying welcome to the group. Simon, yeah, welcome from me too. Amine is here. That's very cool, folks. Glad to have you all here. Let's continue. Actually, this was it with the news. Let's check out the learning. As always, I always show you the Chaos Academy when it comes to the learning. And in fact, there are some new lessons here as well. because I didn't see them here before. It seems like this is the Evolve Labs stuff with Bento, Helix, Morphis, and Verus. So if you're interested in this AI direction, definitely check this out as well. And this one, the Enscape onboarding for architects with Revit, of course, this is very specific. I think it's more about architects and engineers rather than it is for 3D artists. But nevertheless, if you're curious, make sure to check them out. Next, we have a very nice tutorial by Nate Skillar showing us how to use the Chaos scans in Corona, because since the latest Corona version, Corona 12 update 12, update 2.2. What is it? It's just, I don't get it anymore. Anyway, Chaos scans are also supported and included in the Cosmos library, which makes them way easier to use as it was before. They're just like regular materials. You can just put them in your scene or immediately apply them on an object in your scene. It takes a while because these are not quite regular materials. They have a different setup, so the import process takes a bit, but it's awesome to have them. And now regarding the Cosmos, the Chaos scans themselves, these are actually scanned materials, usually of pretty complex nature, that are either very difficult or sometimes even impossible to create from scratch otherwise, but they also have their own license. So it's similar to the, let's say, Polygon material libraries. If you need them, you need to pay for a separate license. However, there is also a trial. So if you want to know if they are the right thing for you, if you could actually profit from them or not, I recommend going for the trial, download it, see if it is for you, especially if you do things, let's say interiors where the materials that you use need to look the way they should. And let's say wood isn't just wood, but it's a certain type of veneer, or plastic isn't just plastic, but has a certain structure to it. But when you do project design, especially if you do project design or automotive design, definitely I recommend them. If you do, let's say, huge exteriors or something, maybe the Chaos scans aren't the right thing for you. Of course, there is still concrete and wood and whatnot here, but maybe they aren't something that you definitely or obligatory need. But the cool thing about it is there is a free version that you can try out, see how it works, see how it is when it's included in the Cosmos library, see if it works for you, if you need it or not, and then make your decision. It says Corona 12 update 2. Yeah, thank you very much. It's just confusing. I'm just waiting for Corona 13 because it's just too much for my brain to handle. Thank you, Amit. Abdi says, I'm using those materials. They're really incredible, but not supported in Vantage yet. I hope they will not forget them. As far as I know, they're working on this, but these are a special type of materials. They don't have the same setup as a usual material, and this is why it takes time to include them to Vantage. But yeah, they're coming to V-Ray as a part of the Cosmos library. As far as I can tell, now they are already a part of the Cosmos library for Corona, so that you can just drag and drop them in your scene. And at some point, they will also be included for Vantage, but I cannot tell you when. Simon says, can you recommend a site with good quality textures that you're using for Corona? Well, I'm recommending one at the moment, the Chaos Scans. Of course, the Cosmos library is very good, and it's getting better and better. I really use it very often. Here, by the way, if you have the Cosmos, the Chaos Scans, I'm sorry, why is everything called with C in the front? Anyway, if you're using, the scans, here you can filter them out and only use the scans, especially if you're a Corona user, you can once again just drag and drop them. But yeah, here, even the standard Cosmos library has tons of really, really nice materials. What I also really gladly use is the Polygon gallery. I am a big fan of it. There is a lot that you can get from here. There are also some generators. I'm not sure if they're still available. They were like a few years back. I have them downloaded and I use them from time to time when I have to create specific brick or wood structures. or materials. But yeah, the Polygon library is one I also recommend. Of course, Quixel, and there are many others out there. We're not sponsored here. We don't do advertisement. I'm just, we're keeping it real. We're honest with each other. I use this one, and I use more and more the Cosmos library as well. And now with the inclusion of the chaos scans, I'll be using them as well for sure. Okay, Mahmoud says, yes, it is great. Okay, I think we all agree on this point. So then let's move over to a sweet little tip by Konstantinos. So what he's showing us here is just a modeling tip, how to properly use red topology. So he has those letters on a chimney. They're extruded, and if he immediately uses red topology up top of them, this is what he ends up with, which obviously is not the result we all want. So what he says is, before doing red topology, make sure to also use subdivide first and then do red topology, and you see how much better the final outcome is. And it definitely is. We have a way cleaner mesh here. You can unwrap it. You can work better with it. You can change it the way it is here. So this is a very great tip and a simple one as well. What I would add to this is, even before using subdivide, so while you're at this step here, use mesh cleaner first, then use subdivide, and then use red topology. You may need to play around with the values, but in the end, you will end up with nicer topology, which is really important also for displacement and for many, many other usages. So yeah, thanks Konstantinos for this. And yeah, here you see an example, and it looks really, really good. Okay, I think that's enough of learning. We don't have so many news or so many learning topics for now. So I think it's time for us to jump in the work in progress, because the last times we didn't have a works in progress to talk about, but now we have one. It's a work by Becca. But before I go to it, let me just explain to those of you who are new, like Simon, for example. We have this initiative in the group. We started with it last September or October, called the Work in Progress Friday. So every Friday, you're encouraged to share the current state of your work and ask questions about it, obviously, on different topics, and then get some constructive feedback from the community. So when you see a clay render like this with a stamp saying whip time, you're encouraged to share the current state of your work. And you don't need to spend extra time to prepare it. You can just put it out there, ask a question. And believe me, the community is great and is actually very, very helpful. You'll see it on the example that we're going to talk about. Now, the first Friday after the show, so the coming Friday, I also write my opinions in written form. The Friday before the show, so the Friday from 4 days ago, I actually don't write my opinions, but I just take the work in progress to the show in order to talk about it in front of everyone, so that everyone profits from this feedback and from the learning from it. Anyway, and also, by the way, guys, I need to go back and re-render projects of mine in order to get clay renders like this. So if you have many, or if you have any, you can also just drop them out there. I'll also use them as a backplate for this invitation. So yeah, and the goal of this obviously is to do the things right the first time around while you're still working on a project, instead of finalizing it, posting it, and then having to go back, reopen it, and rework it. So, and this is, here we have an example for this from last Friday. It's a work by Becca. He writes, "Hello guys, sharing a work in progress of a personal project. Don't mind the architecture yet. Any suggestions about lighting, compositions, and etc." So, let's take a look at this work, and I would say even in this phase, it already looks very promising. What I really like about it, what I just said, you don't need to spend extra time just to prepare for this. Just make sure that people understand what your questions are, and then it's all good. And here we see something, a very good example of this concrete frame that Becca has used. It's a great placeholder. It's a really smart way of hinting the architecture that is about to come, because we see the positioning, of site architecture. We see the form, we see the proportions of it, we even see the alignment and the main opening in the direction it is facing. So from this very, very simple form, we already can get a lot of information. Also, taking a look at the other parts of this work, the scattering looks really, really good. Both the forest and the ground here look very authentic and realistic. I really like them. Let's zoom in for a second. It's great. It's also great when you do something which is like wild nature. It's always a good idea to not only have different shrubs and plants and grasses, but also to have a stone here and there, some debris, some fallen branches, fallen leaves, because nature is messy, you know, it's beautiful, but it's messy. Nobody goes and tidies up the mountain, right? So it's great to see stones in between. It's very, very authentic. Aerial perspective works great. We have a really good feeling of depth here. Lighting is also warm, positive. It has this good vibe, making the viewer want to be there. At least this is the impact the work has on me. Also, it supports the composition. The foreground is dark, and the area of interest is lit up as it should be. And I told you that the community is very helpful, so let's put this to the test. And you see here, Tanish, first suggestion, some positioning or HDRI are already very realistic. How about letting some sunlight in the very foreground shrubs so that you can give an idea for the viewers about the distance of that main structure from the camera? Very good idea. Marco, beautiful. I would try increasing the focal length. Can you tell me where the vegetation comes from? And here we see, you know, it's a community is not only about taking, it's also about giving. And you see here, Becker is getting some useful suggestions, some constructive feedback, but he also immediately wants to give back. So he says, well, I have them from the Chaos Cosmos, but he doesn't stop here. He actually continues and here made a few screenshots showing exactly which shrubs and trees he has used. And this is absolutely awesome. This is how a community should be, and you guys are doing an amazing job with this. Okay, and let's take a look at Gideon's take. He says, this looks really cool already. Although, what are the plans for access, pedestrian and vehicular? Adding a pathway for walking would really help the composition and realism of the image. Absolutely. This is a very important point. We're talking here about a certain infrastructure which is needed for more realism. So yeah, we have Tanish's idea with light in the foreground, which would visually lead into the building. We have Marco's idea with increasing the focal length, which will help focus more on the building. But this can be solved not only with focal length, but also with light. And Gideon's idea about adding infrastructure, a street or a pathway, which will increase realism. My own suggestion would be to add some type of a natural path or a trail, not steps or something, but a trail here, a path which leads to the house, which, as Gideon says, it will help the composition, and it will also visually pick up the viewer and lead them to the house. I would also recommend having a clearance somewhere here, because we have a huge glass front, as I imagine, or a terrace. We never know, but there is a huge viewing direction visible here, and I think it would be nicer if we don't only have trees there, but we have a certain clearance suggesting that people can look through the forest to the right here and maybe see a lake or something down the hill. And one more thing, I would say add something in the background, maybe mountains. This is like probably the closest idea. It could also be some awesome looking clouds or something, but what you're building here is a certain type of a funnel. You know, like the forest has opened and it leads to something, and what we see there is just the, you know, blue sky and nothing more. So try to combine this. I tried to do this quickly in Photoshop, and this is what I ended up with. So here you see the path that I was talking about, which leads from the start to the building, which is picking up the viewer's attention and leading it to what matters. If we have a person on it, a hiker or not, it's up to you. Then in the back, we have this funnel, and then in the back, we have something to look at, which are these amazing mountains. And here we have a certain clearance so that the people have a larger view. Additionally, I would also recommend to move the horizontal framing a bit to the left so that you have more of nature to the right and the building to the left. A bit of the rule of thirds here. I would also recommend lighting up the house. You have two options here. You can either light it up with natural light, with sunlight, or you can keep it in the shadows as you do here, but then you should light it up from within with artificial illumination. So you should light up the interior. And then in order to add this infrastructure that Gideon just mentioned, I recommend parking an SUV, for example, somewhere here, because this will suggest or hint that there is some type of road which ends here by the side of the house. Because with a house like this, it is obvious that people won't be taking this path in order to go shopping every day. They'll take the car. So you need to show how this car can reach the building. And also one final thing from my side, I would also remove the fir trees, these small fir trees, because they look like a tree school. This is what it is called, at least in Germany, where, if you want to sell Christmas trees in December, you need to grow up some Christmas trees. So you plant a lot of them and they grow up together, and then you cut them down and you sell them for people to take them home. And this is exactly what this looks like. I like the scale of them, but I don't think that the small trees are a good idea because they look kind of artificially placed there. So what I would recommend are just larger shrubs or bushes or something like this. But apart from this is a work in progress with great potential. You said you have kept working on it, and so I hope these ideas also give you idea or maybe some direction for the final polish, and definitely looking forward to the final outcome, or maybe to the next work in progress phase on coming Friday. Simon says, this looks really great, congratulations. Yeah, this is already looking very, very good. But the thing is, we push each other. We try to make the most out of everything. So why not make the best? He's in the process of it. This is the right time to provide him with feedback so that he implements it and makes it right the first time. And I think he will. Beck is somebody who actually listens to feedback and then goes back, puts in the effort, reworks things, and they end up looking very good. And I'm sure this will be the case here as well. So this was it about the work in progress part. So now let's take a look at some inspiring projects from you guys from the last 2 weeks. Now, all works I'm about to show you have something interesting or something special about them. This is why I picked them up. Being it a nice approach, a cool attitude from the artist, or maybe somebody trying something new. So there is always something that I chose this work for. So let's take a look at the picks that I had from the last 2 weeks. And if you don't see your work among these, it doesn't mean that it's bad, it doesn't have a good quality or something. It just didn't fit what I actually was after in this particular case. So yeah, we'll start with a work by Dave. He writes, I just want to share my latest work. It's my first time to post here. It's an interior design for a 2-story house done in SketchUp, Vantage and Photoshop. Thank you. Okay, let's check out Dave's images. So this here we see many shots from this open space, which includes the kitchen, the dining area and the living room and the staircase as well. And then we also have many bedroom shots or something like a, I don't know, home cinema, something like this, and then other bedrooms. So we can agree it's a lot of work, and a work with a really solid quality. By the way, guys, similar to what Simon is doing here, am I pronouncing your name right, mate? Because it looks like a Polish name eventually, and there is a Z after the S, so maybe it's not Simon, it's Simon or something like this. Anyway, what you're doing is the right thing. You share your opinion, your thoughts here, because now it's a live session. We can talk with each other, we can discuss, we can, exchange opinions and talk and discuss issues or topics, and this is the quality of a live show. So yeah, I think modeling wise it's clean, it's precise. We have a good amount of assets which make for a lived-in feeling on the one side, but which also have some storytelling to them, which I very highly appreciate. So for example, here what we see is some type of a kid's corner near the staircase, and I think this is a lovely scene. You see the cushions, you see the toys, and you already understand the story. So obviously, this is a house where a toddler or toddlers live. So this is like family friendly and something like this. So don't forget those subliminal messages. They're actually important, and people get them often without even realizing, but they are still there. So if you do this type of storytelling, this is very good. The same way you have parked 2 cars here on the outside, and even though you don't show them anywhere else, like with a specific build image, I already see that 2 cars can be parked in some type of a carport or a garage. Who knows? So yeah, I can already imagine that this is like a family house, and maybe mom and dad have their own cars and they have kids and stuff like this. And this is really good. And also, in terms of storytelling, we have this cooking scene here, and I really, really enjoyed seeing it, because most of the times with kitchens, we see a cutting board or a toaster or a coffee maker, just singled out items so that everything looks very elegant. But in the end of the day, kitchens are there for people to cook, right? So I actually really appreciate having an actual cooking scene, because what you've depicted here is like somebody in the process of cooking. Like they have all the ingredients prepared, and next they will start cooking stuff. Abdi says, is this AI enhanced? Just wondering, since the posts for the stairs railings are looking kind of funny. We'll talk about this. Yes, there is AI, and this is actually part of the issues of this work, and we'll address this in a minute. But yeah, going back to this scene, I really appreciate the storytelling here. And what's more about it, it's not only the storytelling that in a kitchen can be cooked, because most people know this. It's that in this particular case, what we've been shown is that you can cook here, and then you can cook by such a wonderful window with an amazing view to the greenery outside. So it is high quality cooking. It's pleasure cooking. I would love to prepare some meals there, and from time to time just take a peek into the nature. This is really a quality of the design of this house. Ulfat says, Ulfat, nice to see you here. She says, I like the cooking scene so much, full of life. Yeah, exactly. This is what it is. Now, next topic, materials. I think materials look great as well, look and behave realistically. You see here the difference between the wood and the marble, for example. Marble seems to also have some subsurface scattering to it, which is very, very important. This is a personal recommendation from me, folks. When you have marble somewhere, even if it is the back wall of a kitchen, definitely use subsurface scattering on it. It just looks different and it looks better. And especially when you have marble, you often have some type of artificial illumination, especially with kitchens. So using the subsurface scattering in combination with the artificial lighting will make for a way more realistic and nicer look, believe me. Color scheme, I like this as well. It's more or less this monochromatic white gray, and in combination with wood or leather or beige brown tones. I think this is very, very cool. The lighting of the scene is also a big quality to me, especially on some of the shots. It's lively, it's exciting to look at, and it also provides depth. Just take a look at this scene, for example. It's nicely modeled, it's nicely done in general, good materials, assets, and so on. But it could have still been a flat and boring looking scene, but not with the lighting that Dave did here, because he's showing us different aspects of the scene. Here, he's showing us the bed. This is where you get up in the morning. Here, he's emphasizing the table. Here is the window, and we have this triangle. Remember triangles? They're very, very good because they give stability to an image, but also they make it dynamic. This is a very interesting case, but this is the case with triangles. And here we have this. We have this light spot here, we have this light spot here, and we have the window. And this is really, really interesting and pleasant to look at. And of course, the lighting, on the other hand, I would say emphasizes the design aspects. Similar to that shot with the cooking stuff, we have the living, dining, and kitchen being very open, being very spacious, full of natural light. It seems like even on the gloomiest day, this room, this space will be flooded with light, which is a great quality. The bedrooms, on the other hand, And this is very nicely presented here. The bedrooms, on the other hand, show that privacy is also possible even during the day, because contrary to a living room where you just go to for like more active activities, a bedroom can also be used during the day, let's say for an afternoon sleep. And what is being shown here is that you actually pull the curtains shut and then enjoy privacy and also enjoy a dark mood. And the rest of the shots here are also presenting this as well. The highlight to me, however, because I said in the beginning, I will be showing you these works because they have something special about them. So the special thing here is, believe it or not, it's actually the dog shots. Why? First of all, the dog looks amazing, very realistic on both shots, right? But it's about the continuity. So on the first shot, let's imagine this is a real life situation, okay? I'm a photographer, I'm tasked to take some interior photography of this project. I go there, and then the family has a dog, and the dog just chills on the inside. If you know dogs, you know, they do this quite often and they enjoy it very much. And if there is a garden and there is some glazing to the garden, the dog would oftentimes take a look at what's happening on the outside. Maybe there is a bird or a squirrel or something like this, and the dog will be fixing them and just taking a look at what they're doing. And the photographer is down here, I'm the photographer, I'm taking this snapshot. Okay, what do I do next? I get over the dog and then start climbing up the stairs. Now, something interesting happens on the inside of this staircase, on the inside of the apartment where the dog is. So I'm getting the dog's attention. What would be the reasonable and natural reaction of the dog is to follow me up the stairs and see what I'm doing. And this is it. So here it is. The dog was lying here on the floor, taking a look at a squirrel or a bird in the garden, and then I moved up the stairs, and now it is there following me and taking a look at what I'm doing. And this is just so natural. This is such an awesome continuity, and this brings so much realism to this session. Because if you compare to, let's say, a regular art daily shoot, you will see that you will encounter something similar there a lot of times. Let's say on a kitchen shot, you have a woman who lives there preparing her coffee with motion blur maybe, and then 2 or 3 shots further, you see the same woman enjoying her coffee, this time without motion blur, on a beautiful terrace. And here you have the storytelling. So she prepared the coffee in the awesome kitchen, and then she went on the terrace to enjoy it. And this is what we have here with the dog shots. And this is what I really enjoyed while going through the images here, the storytelling and this continuity with the dog, because it's just so natural and it makes this session so believable. Now, obviously, oh, Mariana, glad to have you here. Awesome. There is some room for improvement, as with every project, mine included. So first thing first, the marble on the walls. Now, this is a subjective matter, for sure. But it's my show, so I can also put subjective matters as a part of my reviews as well. So when I see marble on the walls, I never really like it, because marble, especially gray marble like this one, tends to be very cold and repelling. It doesn't really suit the comfort and the coziness of a home. This is why it is mostly used in buildings of a more public nature, so banks or courts or something like this, where people aren't going to for coziness or for comfort, but to do some work. And this is why I won't recommend using marble on your walls unless it is some type of a public building. So maybe just go with a white wall paint or maybe beige or something like this, but don't do marble on the walls. This is just a personal recommendation. Now, the next topic I want to address is the lighting consistency, because here everything is, here is in this large area, dining, living, kitchen, everything is very consistent. I love the lighting here on the staircase. It looks very nice. Then we have the bedroom, where you manage to do a very nice transition to a more private area of the house, where the curtains are partially pulled shut and it's darker. I understand this, but then all of a sudden you go full evening mode, or I don't know if there are no windows here because this is some type of a home cinema, but here there certainly are, and suddenly the natural light is completely gone, even on this type of curtain, which is usually semi-translucent. So I don't think that this consistency is good. These rooms are just too dark. There is no natural light here, and this is not so great. Also here, with this shot, you have an almost monochromatic shot, and then in the corner you have this very boldly colored, I assume it's the screen of a phone or something. Don't do that, because if you have something like this and it is important, you won't be placing it in the very corner of the image, right? And also you won't be blurring it out with depth of field. So obviously this thing is not important to you, but in terms of color contrast, it is the most important thing in the whole scene, which is obviously a conflict. Don't do this. And then the elephant in the room, obviously, Abdi already mentioned it. The AI usage is a bit excessive. Now, there is nothing wrong with AI enhancement, but in your case, it's just too much. Because if you use too much AI, especially if you just go to, let's say, Creo AI and just apply the enhancement and then you just drop it atop of your render in Photoshop, give it some transparency and call it a day, then you will end up with a very significant look, which makes a lot of actually different projects look very similar. And I'll immediately give you the evidence of what I just said by showing you this work by Sachit. And it's a very cool work, but do you see similarities between those two? The typical AI look, which everything looks smoothed out, but at the same time kind of very sharpened, and also the ambient occlusion is kind of pushed up unnaturally. And you see it here almost on every shot, and you see it here as well. Additionally, and this is a bit of a pity, because this makes different looking projects become very similar in their looks, making them feel generic, which is never a good thing. Additionally, of course, there are also artifacts. If we take a look at the carpet, for example, this is some AI slop, which, isn't right. If we take a look at the things here, Ulfat and I love this scene and it's great, but if you take a closer look, you will see that everything looks like a fever dream. Like, this is actually, I know this is a set, it's from the Cosmos library, this is a salami, but what it looks like is a burrito and something else which is undefinable. Then you have, I think this is garlic, but it's not garlic actually. Here the mushrooms, everything feels off if you zoom in. And also, if we go to the bedroom shot, here, take a look at the floor. A floor will never look like this. So you have small floorboards, you have huge floorboards, you have such a rectangular floorboard randomly placed in the middle. So never use AI this way. Don't use it on the whole scene. Target a specific area. Let's say here, the fabric of the bed, and then make a prompt for the fabric of the bed, and then mask only the bed and leave everything else aside. If you want to make your floor more realistic, then do a separate prompt for that and mask it. So in the end of the day, it becomes a very tedious process, but it is as it is, right? Let me take a look at the comments. Abdi says, by the way, AI or not, this is a really inspiring piece of work with a lot of attention paid to the details. Pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely agree. Mario says it looks AI-ish. Yeah, there is AI on every single shot here, and this is not a good thing. This is just excessive. You should scale it down for sure. Abdi continues, yes, but still nice work, and for sure there is room for improvement. Simon says AI makes really good carpets and fabric. It adds good irregularity and dirtiness. Yeah, that's absolutely sure. I mean, the fabric looks amazing. It's just that you cannot just push the whole image into some AI to press the enhance button and then just put it atop, or just take the final result and place it out there, because AI is not as good yet, and you end up having artifacts, you end up having irregularities and things that you don't want to have, like this floor here, for example. So you need to pay attention and you need to focus on different areas and let AI do its work on a specific part of your image, not the whole image. Mario says, true, the thing is when you overuse AI, all that effort, all that huge work goes to the toilet. Just use it with mask, not use the whole version. Yeah, exactly. This is what we're talking about here. But yeah, nevertheless, this is generally a very, very nice work. I absolutely agree with Abdi on this one. It's great. It has so much potential. If this was mine, I would change a few things. I would change this wall texture. I would scale down the AI usage. And then it's a wonderful portfolio project. Looking forward to your next one, Dave. Okay, now let's take a look at another interesting case, which is this work by Muhannad. He writes, hello, check out my project. Originally initiated as a client commission, this visualization project evolved into a personal endeavor after the project was paused due to unpaid deliverables. It showcases the ground floor of a 450 square meter contemporary farmhouse in Ilija, Bosnia and Herzegovina. The design blends modern elegance with rustic warmth, using natural materials, soft lighting, and a muted palette to create a welcoming, grounded environment. With expansive glazing that frames serene riverside views and interiors crafted to emphasize flow and comfort, the project became an opportunity to fully explore a refined vision of modern farmhouse living, unbound by client constraints and shaped purely by design intent. It's done in 3ds Max 2024 Corona 12, Photoshop, and with Crea for the backplate creation. By the way, this is an amazing description. It's visible that Muhannad has really paid attention to not just putting info together, but also forming a really beautiful text, which kind of emphasizes the beauty and the effort put into his work. I really appreciate this. I understand that oftentimes we don't have the time to write a text like this, but especially if it comes to competitions or presenting your work to clients, try to be more like this rather than here, my latest work, because this isn't that sexy, Okay. Abdi says AI should help you get in better results and not there to do your job. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so let's take a look at Muhannad's images. Lovely shot, really like it. And let's take a look at the others. We have some really good detailed modeling and also heavy scene population. The apartment definitely feels lived in a very natural way. Like regular people, not everything is just one piece of art on a shelf and nothing else. Regular people have stuff and put it on shelves and surfaces, and this is what this here looks like, very authentic. I also enjoy the materials, the color scheme. There are some really good framings, especially the first shot. I love this one. The depth of field here, the depth, the general depth of this image, the blurry foreground, which gives you this tunnel vision into which then opens into the larger area. This is a very, very good framing and generally a very good shot. My personal highlight, or the reason why I decided to share this work with you and talk about it today, is the way Muhannad dealt with this situation. Because if we go back to his description, it was a commercial work he did for a client, and then his work didn't get paid for, and instead of rage quitting, which would have been really understandable if you ask me, he decided to make the most out of his already invested effort. The saying, when life gives you lemons, make a lemonade. And I think Muhannad here made a very tasty lemonade with this one. Sure, there is room for improvement, and I think this is a very important aspect of this work, because if you already are doing it for your own portfolio, I think you should do the best out of it. And luckily, once again, the community is there to help. Mariana has provided some really cool feedback. She says, very nice, softly lit, pleasant ambient with great color scheme, Muhannad, and beautifully depicted. I'd really like to stay there drinking my cappuccino. The fabric texture on the chairs is slightly overscaled, and the oven tower and fridge are way too shiny in my opinion. And this is the shot she refers to, and I think it's a very good point to talk about. I absolutely agree about the scaling here. If you scale them down, it will look way better. But let's talk about the overly shiny appliances, okay? Because they are actually, it's not the roughness of these surfaces as much of a problem as it is a general issue with this work. Yeah, I agree. I've never seen such a shiny, almost mirror-like fridge. You can definitely make it a bit less glossy for more realism. But once again, this is not the main issue here. The main issue is the lack of proper surroundings. Like, you have poor reflections and refractions everywhere, not only on the appliances here, but also on the glasses, on the espresso maker, on the vase, and everywhere. Why? Because what's outside of the windows is white void, and this never really looks good. So please avoid this at all costs, okay? So the solution is simple. If you have, let's say, a certain view to follow, because it's, let's say, this is a specific location and your clients want you to showcase the actual view of the windows, then they will most likely provide you with a photo. When they do, you can work in this photo by putting it in your model as a backplate. Now, you just put it on a plane, do some self-illumination on the material with the photo in diffuse, and you have your view. And you have no post-production hassle, because if we take a look at some of the other shots here, for example, you can clearly see that you have some difficulties implementing the photos behind your render, right? With the help of masks and all of this. No, just put it right into the render. It's the same with 2D people. If you use cutouts, put them right into the render. Don't add them afterwards. You can do like the one closest to the camera in order to make everything perfect, but all the other people that you use as a cutouts, put directly into your scene, because they will get the right contrast, they will get the right tonality and everything else. So the next option that you have for a surrounding to avoid this white void surrounding it, as Mario says, empty horizon classic, yeah, you can use an HDRI, or you can use a sun and sky for more flexibility compared to the HDRI, and then model some surroundings. Just hint a few trees or maybe some generic buildings around, but you need to have something, because once again, every reflection and every refraction that you have on the inside will be profiting from this, and the whole realism of your scene as well. So everything that you see here that reflects or refracts will look immediately better when there is actually something on the outside. Now, there are sometimes, I mean, it depends on the project. I have had projects where I've actually sent a photographer to create a 360 panorama for me, for the project, so that we have a very authentic view out of the windows. Whatever it is, you don't have to control this, but this is one example. In this project, it is a part of a huge building complex, and I needed to do this apartment as an example of how modern loft living could be. So this is all my design and everything. But yeah, I really, because of the glazing, we have full glazing on two of the sides of this apartment. I wanted what's visible on the outside to be the actual view. So I sent a photographer there. He made a photo with a drone. In the meantime, as a drone pilot, I can do this on my own. Back then, I wasn't drone pilot yet, so I had to send somebody else, and he created this. And then on every shot, I was able to have an authentic and realistic view. And especially here on the balcony shots, as you see, let's say the last one, you see, because I have this 360 surrounding, you see that all my reflections and refractions are very, very authentic. So you need to put in that effort and you'll get a way, way better result. Okay, let's go back to your work. Where is it? We're here. I think I'll check the comments. Simon says, the scene looks great, but in my opinion, there are too many things on the tables. I don't know what to focus on. Chef's kiss. Exactly what my next point would have been. the scene is definitely overpopulated. It's just full of stuff. And the result, you see it clearly on this shot, the result is that there is no clear fore, mid, and background, and no clear focus, as Simon points out. And also, it gives the viewer this very cramped look, which of course makes the scene less attractive, because nobody likes cramped stuff. And if you try to analyze it, there is a lot that you can remove. If I were you, I would remove a lot of the deco items. I would also use less furniture. Just take a look at the situation here in the corner. You have a dining table, like a big one with 6 seats all around it. And then you have a separate counter for your breakfast, where the chairs being just like, I don't know, 30 centimeters apart from each other. This makes no sense. Just kick off those chairs and just let this be. And then maybe you don't need 2 couches. Maybe you can just use 1 couch and then a chair or something like this. But you definitely need to go easier on the population. It's great that you have put so much effort, because most artists, including myself, tend to be lazy when it comes to this topic. But you went definitely overboard. And when it comes to those AI backgrounds, I don't know, man. I mean, I know our Simon Greek is also using Magnific to create background for his Greek works, and that usually works nicely. But in this particular case, this is kind of too much, too prominent, and partially weird looking and unrealistic if you were to zoom in this. So really, go for an HDRI, especially given that this is not a commercial work anymore. Just go for an HDRI. You can, if you want to, you can pick up an HDRI that is very similar to the, let's say, landscape or nature in this city that you describe in your description. But these don't look great. And once again, the HDRI will solve a lot of the realism issues that you have with your work. So yeah, or maybe have AI create a 360 panorama for you from the city. What was its name? Let me check it once again. Ilija. Maybe have AI create an Ilija 360 panorama that you can map around. This would be pretty cool if you ask me. But yeah, I definitely recommend fixing the topics that we just talked about, and then you have a great portfolio project on your hands. And I think the unpaying clients will regret not having finished this work with you. Okay, let's continue with the next work. We just talked about balancing, not going overboard, and I think the work that we're about to talk about right now is a great example and a great reference about a balanced, beautiful interior. So this is the latest interior job by Estela. She writes, "Hello folks, it is a pleasure to share my last interior job. Here I tried to find new point of views and new aspects of the camera. I like to use 0.8 or 0.9 aspects for camera. This because I think a little hard to make the 1.5, but let me know what you think, please." Okay, let's go through the images and see. And I think the first 2 shots already show you what a beautiful, balanced and elegant work this is. We have a very clean, on-point modeling, and let's take a closer look in the kitchen and talk about this modeling. Take a look at all those grouts and gaps on the kitchen, right? So you see there is a small grout. It's not glued to the wall. There is a small grout between the wall and the kitchen block, and a bit of a larger one between the kitchen block and the ceiling. And this makes a lot of sense if you think about the construction of the kitchen, or the construction of a kitchen block. And then we have those different spaces between the cupboard fronts or the drawers, which make them possible to operate and open in this particular case. Then we have the larger gaps where we need to get into a door or a drawer in order to be able to open it. It just makes so much sense. I know it's only grouts and chamfers and stuff, but believe me, this is what brings realism to your scenes. Also, we have wonderful looking materials. Oh, by the way, talking about grouts, take a look at the parquet. This is how parquet should look like. A lot of artists, especially more novice artists, tend to make huge grouts that are visible from an airplane, and there is no reason for that. Just imagine you have, somebody come to your home and you give them the task to make parquet in your living room, for example, and then you walk in and there are such like 1 centimeter or 5 millimeter grouts between all the floorboards. You immediately ask for a refund, and rightfully so, because just imagine dropping a glass of water. The fluid will go underneath the floorboards and then they will balloon, and then you have a really, really bad time. I know it from experience. Also, there a lot of dirt will be gathering into those scraps. If you drop something like a ring or an earring or something, you'll never find it again. So no, this is what parquet looks like. Even if you don't see the gaps in certain areas, this is how it should be. This is realistic, okay? Now, to the next topic, talking about the materials, you see how important it is to have good looking materials and material properties that are immediately perceptible as such. So in this case, the fabric, it looks soft. The carpet as well. The floorboards, they look like they're actually made out of wood. It's hard, but it's not as hard as, let's say, the metal of the faucet here or the marble on the back wall of the kitchen. Okay, so this is very, very important. One hugely important aspect of realism is materials that have immediately visible properties. And this is not the only shot showcasing this. You also see it here as well on the carpet, on the wood, the marble, or whatever stone this is. It's not because of Estela. It's my fault because I don't recognize stones that well, which is a kind of a shame given that my mom is a geologist. But let's not talk about this. Lighting. The lighting is great. We have a beautiful balance between natural and artificial lighting. I think this one is a good example. Now, this is something that I have noticed throughout my years providing feedback to other artists. This is not a personal offense or something, but especially with artists coming from India, I have seen that their clients tend to often use false ceilings and spots in their interior concepts, and there is nothing wrong with that, obviously. And they go like, well, if I already have the spots, I want them all turned on full power. And poor artists then need to work with like 20 spots lighting up one regularly sized living room, which ends up in a room flooded with light. And the moment this happens, the image is ruined. Why? Because the moment you flood a room with light so that there are no shadows, it loses its depth, it becomes flat, it loses its three-dimensionality. And if you take a look at this one, for example, there are areas which are simply dark. Also the entrance area, most likely, okay? And you need to keep the shadows if you want your images to have depth. The moment you wash them out, the depth is gone. This is a rule, and it is always like this. There is no exception to this rule. This is why usually shots with the light coming from behind the camera aren't that great. Like this one. This one is a good example because Estela made sure to keep enough contrast and enough shadows in the mid and background so that the image isn't flat. But you see it here in the front. You have the light coming from behind the camera and reaching this corner of the couch. And the moment it does it, you see how the three-dimensionality is immediately lost, right? So you need to always make sure to keep your shadows. They are essential for the depth of your work. Please do this. Mikkel says, nice one, grout that can be seen from an airplane. Yeah, I mean, take a look at the works of, let's say, beginners, and you see huge grouts always. Amit says, wow, your mom is a geologist. There are important job designations are associated with you and your family. Nice to hear. Well, unfortunately, like geology is an engineering job which didn't have much future as a work field in Bulgaria. which is, I think, a bit of a pity because she actually likes this, but there were not many jobs for people who have studied what she has. Simon says, I would put this couch and pillows to AI engine or find more detailed 3D models. I don't think this is needed, Simon, because take a look at this. Oh, sorry, this is the wrong direction. There is enough detail. This is a very minimalistic project, right? This if you have too much stuff going on, even if it's too many wrinkles on the couch, then it would become too prominent and too important, which it actually isn't, because it's not about the couch, it's not about the kitchen, it's about the whole thing. So yeah, obviously the highlight here, because I said it's about the whole thing, obviously the highlight, the reason why I'm sharing this with you today are the framings, because they're wonderfully balanced. They absolutely fit the design and the spaces that we have here and are really great in combination with the light. Something like this. This is just a beautiful, beautiful shot. So yeah, Estela, you did really, really great. Now, in terms of improvement, I actually have some points which are pretty nitpicky, I gotta admit, but I see you're a perfectionist, so I'm trying to help you with that. Oh, here you are. You say, thank you for the class. I'm writing this here. No, please don't. You can just watch the recording. But yeah, let's talk about what can be improved. Now, talking about the sofa, I'm not sure about if this is just a model that has legs underneath, but it seems like it's hovering. Judging by the shadow here, it seems like it's actually hovering a bit above the carpet. Eventually, this could be just a design element and there could still be feet underneath it. In this case, this is really a confusing design, I gotta say, but you should take a look at it, because if it's hovering, just put it down and re-render. Okay, next point. Oh yeah, and talking about this couch or sofa, whatever you want to call it, I never understood the difference between those two, and ChatGPT couldn't help me either. But yeah, on this shot here, the couch looks kind of grayish, kind of just devoid of any color. If you take a look at this one, it certainly has this greenish tint to it, which comes out of nowhere and gives a certain inconsistency between the images. So maybe make up your mind. Both are great. I mean, the green tint here is also really beautiful with all the other colors available here. So you can go with it on the other shots as well, but just make sure that you have this consistency. It's partially because of the washing out, because of the light, the main light source coming from behind the camera. A certain washing out happens on the couch material, and this is why we don't have it here, because here we have the light coming under 90 degrees to the camera direction, and this is why this is most likely the actual color of the sofa, whereas this here is the overexposed or washed out color. But this is what we have post-production for. You can fix it. Just decide which one you want to go with and then make all of them have it. Danushka says, I love the slight green hue on the sofa. Yeah, it's really cool. And a set's mixing with the warm lighting and other materials. Really nice work. Yeah, it definitely is. Okay, let's talk about, I think it is the third shot, this one. So this is the only shot, the framing of which I think can be improved. So let's quickly jump over to Photoshop. So this is your original framing, right? I can give you here two alternatives. So if you want to keep the aspect ratio as it is, what I would recommend is to just shift the cropping, the horizontal cropping a bit. Let me show you what I mean. And what I don't like is that this part of the lamp doesn't fit in for just like a few centimeters. It just gives a certain tension to the work, which I personally subjectively don't enjoy that much. So what I recommend doing is just pushing this a bit to the side and then shifting the cropping. Now the lamp fits as a whole and your framing works a bit better according to my own views. The alternative, if you would like to, is you can just extend the cropping a bit. So you'll be leaving the aspect ratio that you've been using on the other shots. If you want to keep this edge of the kitchen block, which I also understand, then try to have a similar edge on the other side as well. So extend the cropping until there is a small gap between the edge of your framing and the edge of this wall art, and then you have similar gaps on both sides. And once again, the framing will be more balanced. I hope this makes sense to you, and I hope I explain it in a way which you can follow. Simons, Kemish. No, Kemish. Sorry. Nice to have you here. Simon says, the classic levitating objects, sometimes you just don't notice it. No, it's because with a work like this, everything looks so good already that you don't see something like this. And I gotta admit that I only caught this probably the third time I went through those images. I'm sure most clients won't be seeing this the first time. Mario, in those cases, it is also good to go for a blue hour. Plus artificial lights on the golden hour works too. Yeah, of course. You mean if the light is coming from behind the camera? Yeah, for sure. I mean, in this particular case, once again, this is very nicely done, and Estela managed to keep the depth of this image because of the mid and background. But as you can see, you can clearly see it here, the foreground is pretty washed out. So if the whole image would have been like this, then it would have been a fail, and then it is better to actually go for an evening mood or blue hour or golden or whatever in order to avoid this. Okay, here I also have another issue. It seems like you do the lighting of this counter here with an invisible rectangular light, and actually there is nothing wrong with this, but there is this part here which kind of snitches on the method that you're using, and it's kind of unexplainable because there is no light source here, right? So what you need to do is just make your rectangular light a bit shorter so that it doesn't reach up to the sides of the kitchen block here, and an effect like this doesn't happen, and then it would be okay. Maybe there would be some people who say, well, where does this light come from? But you can always explain that it comes from behind the top cupboards or something like this. But yeah, something like this isn't a good look. Next thing that I saw on this sofa, it seems like the bump is a bit too strong and also very repetitive. You see this pattern, we see it time and time again. So it takes away realism, which in your case shouldn't be happening because the images are otherwise really wonderful. So just go easier on the bump. And what I always recommend is use UV randomization on the material with the option checked to randomize each tile, and then you won't have repetitions like this anymore. Mario says, just leave visible on. Well, yes, you can leave visible on, then the effect will make sense, but not every artist wants this, because if you take a closer look, you see like the, how is this called? A hub? Yeah. So it makes sense the way it is, and it provides some lighting. But if you have a light strip here, it doesn't always look that great, especially if you have a lower camera. Okay, then we have another point here. Amir rightfully said that the glass on the glazing is barely there, barely visible. So just pump up a bit the reflection values until more is reflected in the glass, and it will become more perceptible. And when it comes to this building on the outside, it looks very new and generic, and it's not that good. So you can just add some imperfections to it, maybe some other generic facade. I recommend going with some Quixel assets and materials to simulate something which isn't that polished and new looking. But that's it. Obviously, once again, these were pretty much nitpicks. But yeah, I see you're a perfectionist. I see you want to make the best out of this. So I decided to help you with this. It's a fantastic work, and I'm looking forward to your next one, Estela. I hope this review was useful to you. Hasib says, this is great. Thank you very much for such event. I'm learning a lot. Oh, I love hearing this. Thank you very much for your comment, Hasib. It's, doing this takes time and effort and stuff. And even though I'm I'm paid for this, as Mario said last time, I tend to do more than I'm actually paid for because I care and really want to teach you something. So hearing something like this actually means a lot to me. So thank you very much. Kama is here. Hello, my friend. Amit says, nice evaluation, Theo. Yeah, folks, you know how it is. This review here shouldn't only be useful to Estela herself, but also to each one of you who is watching now, or let's say the recording later. So obviously, we need to, I try to bind in some other aspects or some generalistic topics while talking about a specific work, so that the things I talk about remain relevant to you as well. Let's move on, however, and we have something very interesting because this work is a good example of the power of render quality. It's The Bath of Elysium by Alireza, and he writes a sacred pause between body and soul, inspired by the serene elegance of ancient Greece wrapped in the purity of white marble. Design, modeling, and rendering by Alireza himself, done in 3ds Max Corona with the help of Quixel Megascans. No AI used, every detail is crafted with intention, emotion, and human touch. Now, in this group, we talk about AI from time to time. Chaos has some AI projects, especially since they've used, or since Evolve Lab is part of the Chaos family. There is a certain AI direction to the Chaos projects, or at least part of them. In this group, I personally, we're honest with each other. This isn't, keeping it realistic is not just a wordplay. It is how we are. We keep it real here. We're honest. I always tell you things the way I find them. And when it comes to AI, I strongly believe that it is here to stay, and like it or not, and that you should give it a try and see how much of it you can integrate, how much in your workflow, how much of it you can maybe use according to your own morality as well. But this is not something that we enforce here. So if I use AI for enhancement, others use it for, let's say, the creation of references and whatnot. Alireza here seems like he's not a huge fan of AI, and we are totally respecting this as well. So in this community here, you're safe. Whether you love AI or hate it, both of you are welcome. Simon says, yeah, the live streams are really cool. I like that you're showing your thought process. Thank you very much. This is the goal and the idea of this show. This is why we're doing something like this. Mohanad, very nice evaluation. I really love this project. Thank you very much, Mohanad. Estela, very useful. Thank you for your feedback. Some things that you mentioned I saw after delivering the project, and another things is a new point of view. What is I'm looking for, and I always find in you. Thank you very, very much. I'm more than happy to hear this feedback from you, Estela. You're an amazing artist, and it's great to hear these words coming from you. Kama says, I never use AI for now. You're not obliged to. There is no obligation. If you just prefer to do it like Alireza here, then you definitely can. And in this community, nobody will be forcing this on you. Of course, in certain situations, I may say, you know what, use AI for enhancement. But in the end of the day, it's up to you if you do it or not. Okay, let's go through Alireza's images. And I said that this work is exemplary for the power of quality. So let me explain why. So I totally dislike this architectural style. Let me just put it as it is. I detest it. I never in my life have dreamt about having a bath or any other room look like this, and I never will. However, Alireza's beautiful session still managed to fascinate me and catch my attention in a very positive and intriguing way. Because of those awesome, absolutely skillfully done images, I was still able to appreciate the beauty of the details. Just take a look at this faucet or the statue. This is just a beauty to look at. And obviously, I think we shouldn't waste time talking about the rest of the elements here, because Alireza is a total pro. He knows what he's doing, so to no surprise, we have some great modeling despite really, really high complexity of the geometry and the scene. We also have fine materials, lighting, angles, framing. Everything is pretty much spot on. So let's not waste any more time about this. What I wanted to show you here is that if you have a high quality session, you can get the interest even from people who are generally not interested in something. The only thing as a possible improvement, this is something Tanish already mentioned in the comments underneath the work, is adding subsurface scattering to the marble. As I already told you on a previous project on Dave's work, just add subsurface scattering whenever you have marble. You only profit from this, especially in combination with light. It looks just wonderful and will make a beautiful work like this even better. Yeah, and to conclude, Alireza, great work once again, as expected. Once again, it may not change my stance on this type of architecture, but it certainly made me appreciate its beauty, and I thank you for that. Now, we have Amit says, share the new work, Kama, if you're on it, would love to see it. Oh yeah, because Kama said, maybe I will my future exterior render that I'm working on. Yeah, Kama, you can always share this on the Work in Progress Fridays. You know, you once did and ended up with a very cool looking scene with the help of the community and of course your own hard work. So if we can help you with your current exterior scene, just drop it on Friday. Let's continue. After many interiors, I think it's time to talk about an exterior, and this is a villa visualization by Khadij, done and visualized, modeled and visualized by her in 3ds Max Corona and Photoshop, with some AI enhancement for the green plants in AI in PS. Okay, let's take a look at the images, and I think it's like the image, then there is a clay render, and then there is a clay viewport, so we can focus on this one, and it's a very sweet exterior with nice setting, good modeling, good materials as well, great work on the landscape and the integration of the stairs in it. By the way, we can see it here on the clay viewport screenshot. You can see that we have a very good mesh to work with, and this is why in the beginning of the show we talked about using retopology to get a cleaner geometry to work with, and here you see why it is important, because if you had a worse or not so clean mesh, sculpting it wouldn't have been that easy and that precise. Also, yeah, the scattering looks nice, the AI enhancement is spot on. I mean, you don't see it, and I think this is exactly the quality approval needed for AI enhancement. If it's not immediately visible, then it's great, at least according to my own taste. Framing's nice, the lighting is very, very pleasant, fits a scene like this, shows the three-dimensionality of this building. The highlight to me, however, why I show you this project today is because it seems like Khadij stepped out of her comfort zone, because, you know, we've already talked about a few of Khadij's works during this show. We have nominated some of her works for the best for the last 2 weeks, but we've never seen an exterior done by her. And I think going for something else, something which is outside of your comfort zone, challenging yourself, is always a great thing, especially if you have already mastered one thing, to not just completely continue doing only that, but trying to master another is the right thing to do, especially if you want to be a 3D generalist. And in this particular case, Khadij did a really, really good job, because even in the VW Art Club, there are some artists who make wonderful, very realistic, atmospheric, wonderfully lit interiors. And then suddenly they drop an exterior project and it just gets something like 20 likes or something, and rightfully so, because it's actually pretty bad. But this is not the case with Khadij. I mean, this is at least the first exterior that we see. Maybe she has done a lot more in the past, but for now this is our first one, and it's already a good one. In terms of improvement, maybe adding a bit more life to the interior. There already is some stuff. We see a sofa here, we see wall art, but here, especially the top floor here and this huge window, it seems kind of lifeless. Yes, it has an awesome reflection in it, but it still would be great to see something behind it. Maybe a person looking in the distance, some furnishing. So maybe turn on some lights, warm lights for sure, and then it would be more lively and more beautiful to look at. And in terms of composition, I find it a bit of a pity, even though those clouds nicely follow the form of the house, I find it a bit of a pity that the silhouette of it isn't that nicely recognizable and immediately visible because of the clouds. So I would say remove the clouds on this part here, especially the cantilever, and then the house will pop up more. And when it comes to the composition, one more thing, you have a very cool natural framing, some dark areas here that close the framing, but it flows out in the bottom left corner. With flow out, I mean in terms of composition, it's kind of not locked in. It just flows out. It's not a consistent visible composition and framing that you have within the image. So gladly darken this corner down here, which will kind of visually close it, and the viewer will be able to focus more on the building itself. I tried to do it quickly in Photoshop, and this is what I came up with. So here you see I removed the clouds behind the building's silhouette, so it now sticks out more, and then I also darkened the corner down here to close the framing and keep the focus on what matters the most, which is the stairs visually guiding us to the building and then the building itself. But apart from these minor points, this is a great outcome, Khadij, and I hope to see more exteriors of yours. Kama says, yeah, I'll share the work in progress. Amit says the left-hand side top also has a reflection where a viewer gets confused, and I thought I saw a curtain inside that area. Yeah, I know what you mean. I also did a lot of looking here. This is, I don't know what this is, but yeah, this is indeed very, very confusing. Kalina is very eager to talk with me right now. Maybe she forgot that we have a show. Mario says, damn Teo, you're a beast. How can you make the image look so much better with such small changes? Well, because sometimes, first, thank you. And secondly, because sometimes it is just a few small things that are missing from an otherwise great image to put it to the next level. So I explained it already. The clouds were hiding the silhouette of the building, and here we needed a closed corner for a better focus, and this is exactly what I added, and it seems like you guys, or Mario at least, like it the way it is, so it seems like it worked. That's it, simple as that. Sometimes this is why we need a community like this, you know. This is why, because Khadij, what she's looking at is a very good looking, skillfully pulled off scene, and at some point you need just a second or third or more pairs of eyes who also take a look at this and see simple things like the ones that I just pointed out that are missing. And this is where we as a community come at and can, you know, help out. And this is exactly what was missing here. Anyway, let's continue, because I don't want the show to be 3 hours long and there are still very interesting topics to talk about. Okay, now we're talking about an exterior, so I want to show you two more exteriors, or two more exterior related works at least. First one is going to be this one by Khaled, because when we talk about exteriors, I cannot not show you an amazing work like this. He writes, hello everyone, this is my first post on the group. I made a photo 3 years ago. I hope you like it. It's done in 3ds Max V-Ray Photoshop with the help of some Quixel assets and materials, I assume. And yeah, he calls it a photo, and yeah, easy to agree with this one if you ask me, because it looks absolutely amazing. Right? It's incredibly realistic, incredibly authentic. Just check the amount of detail, and not only the amount of detail on the terrace or the courtyard and the building itself, but also on the surroundings as well. It's just insane. And then comes the main reason for the high authenticity, which is the imperfections and irregularities. Because real life is anything else but perfect, folks. There are uneven surfaces, like you see here. There are dried out plants. Even in the summer, there are some. And it doesn't even need to be a dead plant. Like here, for example, in our garden in the spring, not all plants get in bloom or get their leaves at the same time. Some are faster than other, and when this happens, you have a plant which is completely happy, green and everything, and then photosynthesizing, and next to it you have a completely dry looking plant as if it was dead. It's not dead. It will just develop its leaves and everything else, blossoms, just later. So things like this, they add so much authenticity to a scene. And then we have another aspect that I really wanted to show you here. It's the asset variations. So you see here, for example, we have the same plant and we have it in 3 different pots. And this is exactly how real life works. At some point you go and buy a plant, right? And then somebody else knows that you like this plant and maybe they gift it to you for your birthday. And when they do this, they won't gift it to you in the very same pot that you already have, right? So you get a second pot. Afterwards, you decide that you need a third plant because why not? And then you go buy a new pot, but the pots that you already have aren't being sold anymore, so you need to buy a third type of pot. And here we go. We have 3 different types. And then you have a different plant, and for it, you have a new pot. And also, it's not only the different pots, it's also their arrangement. They're not perfectly arranged alongside the wall. No, it seems like the people who live there actually try to use those pots as a type of a guidance that will guide you to the main entrance to the interior. So they place the pots in a way which is like cones on the street, which is guiding you where you need to go. And obviously also guiding the viewer's focus to where we want to focus. And all of these just make for so much authenticity and realism. So if you're into exteriors, you're working on an exterior project, definitely make sure to go back and check out Khalid's work because it's absolutely impressive. Mario says, I remember seeing this post long time ago in Vasily's group. I loved it. Yeah, rightfully so. It's absolutely amazing. Ulfat, she says, Khaled, your project. Yeah, I already actually linked him or tagged him, but yeah, he can watch the recording if he's not here today. Okay, let's continue with something else, something more experimental. Experimental it is. Okay, I'm not sure if Abdi is here, but I wanted to show you something which would be a bit of a transition to what I wanted to show you of my own experiments by the end of the show. It's a project called the Comb Hour, from static 3D render to flowing video powered by AI. Once again, I told you guys, we're not forcing AI here, but from time to time we experiment with it or we are trying it out and seeing where it leads to. And this is exactly what Abdi did here. So this video will be showcasing, it's like barely 40 seconds long, and it will be showcasing this very experimental workflow from static image to animation with the help of AI. So the whole thing will start off with a parametric model, which Abdi did with Max and RealClone, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, this is it. Which he then rendered in V-Ray to create a reference render, what you see here right now. By the way, great parametric modeling, dear Abdi. And then he used tie diffusion to create a realistic looking image on the base of the reference render. And in the final step, he used the FreePeak AI video generator to create an animation. And this is what we see right now. And now, if we go back to the video, you see that there are some issues with it. There are some artifacts here. We have a ghost driver here to the left. The SUV is using the wrong lane. We have a very strong depth of field, like too strong. But nevertheless, the video still looks very, very nice. It's very authentic. I'm sure that if you saw this in passing, you'll probably never figure out it's AI. You'll probably think it's some type of a dashcam footage, right? And if we take a look at at the city and everything, the street, the color scheme, the lighting, the motion, the aerial perspective are absolutely on point and totally convincing. Well, great, Theo. So AI will replace us and take our jobs, I hear some of you say. I don't think so. Because if you watch the video once again, you will see that the quality that is delivered in the end is absolutely insufficient for a final project. There is no consistency and flexibility is really highly problematic. You cannot really change much here. But I think it's a good way of showcasing and testing ideas. You can call it a conceptual previs. Sorry, not archvis. We used to saying this word way too often. It's like a conceptual previs, but previs still takes a lot of time, whereas this thing here that you just saw, I think just takes a few minutes. And this is a huge difference in the end of the day. And also, alternatively, it's a way of simply making some of your scenes a bit more intriguing and maybe gaining some interest from potential clients. So yeah, great work, Abdi. Thank you very much. Abdi says, I'm on my phone right now. Yeah, you can always watch the recording. This was great, and this was very inspiring to me and made me actually decide to run a few tests with some of my stills, and you were even there to help me. Thank you for that as well. So yeah, this is what I'll be showing you next as a topic for today. Let me just check the comments. I see, oh, Khaledi is here, and he says, thank you so much. I'm happy you like it. It's a marvelous work, Khaled. So, my dear friends, as I told you, I decided to test this AI animation on some of my scenes and see what comes out of it. And this is what I'll be showing you next. So, first is this janitor scene from a fire department commercial work I did some years, 2 years ago or something. And I decided to experiment with it for obvious reasons. We already have a person which is doing something, so seeing what AI will make out of it is incredibly interesting to me. Abdi says it is not a perfect result at all. The generation of the video took 1.5 minutes, not bad, but far away from perfection. Yeah, this is why I don't fear that at least soon AI will be taking our jobs, because it's, in terms of control, in terms of flexibility, of consistency, it's just very, very far away from producing final projects that, you know, can be used as an advertisement or something like this. So, but yeah, let's see what we have, and if eventually we can have some fun with it or even use it for a small part of our workflow here and there. So here it is. Here we have the janitor. This is the original still image, and this is the first thing Abdi was so nice and friendly to help me with. He took the image over to FreePic because he has a paid subscription there, and let the AI do its animation work. And this is the first thing it came out with, which is this landscape, very cinematic aspect ratio. And I gotta say, this is actually pretty sweet. The movement is fluid, the cinematic angle is very cool. Obviously, the arm movements are pretty weird because this is not how you sweep. And also the issue here is that it doesn't really correspond to the original angle, and also that the general quality dropped. But still, I find it quite impressive. Mario says, wow, Ulfat, I remember this project. I mean, look, the masterpiece, you fed it. Yeah, it's, thank you very much. You're all too kind today to me. But yeah, let's take a look at what we have. So this was the first experiment. This is something apparently the FreePic AI is coming up with and doing automatically. So it will provide you with the video, which has the same aspect ratio as the image you fed it with, but it also provides you with this cinematic video automatically as well. I don't know why this happens, but I have nothing against it. So now let's take a look at what FreePic did with the original image in the original aspect ratio. So here we have it, the original aspect ratio, movement is being very fluid and consistent, Once again, this is not the right sweeping motion. Does make no sense to just move the dustpan and the broom together, but it's still pretty sweet if you ask me. Next, I will show you what Kling came up with, because this is what I was able to test. I was testing the free version. This is good to know because the engine is still the 1.6 engine. In the meantime, there is an 2.0 engine, if I'm not mistaken, but this is for the paid version, which I probably will be investing in because I want to make some further experiments, and my free credits are all gone by now. And by the way, folks, once again, we don't do product placement here or advertisements for other things. It's just me sharing my experiences with you. So nobody is paying us for this. It's just for the just for you to profit from. Okay, many comments. Mika says, interesting. Simon, it looks like a cinematic shot from a game. Cool, Amit, but look at the glove movement and the pocket. Yeah, the glove movement is great, right? Abdi says, imagine creating your storyboards this way. Simply cool. Yeah, this is exactly it. If you want to communicate, let's say you want to do an animation, but before that, you want to test it out, you want to discuss it with the client, this is a great way to do this, which saves you a lot of time and effort, and I think this is something you should be considering. Urfat says, wow, it says it looks authentic. Mario looks like she's using a metal detector. Yeah, it actually does. This is how I clean the house and my wife gets mad afterwards. Yeah, okay, just try to do it better. Try to do it more the Kling way, which I'll be showing you next, where I find the movement actually way more, this is actual sweeping. Also, the quality seems better here. Obviously, we see that the dustpan is kind of soft for whatever reason and is immediate giveaway for AI. But here I probably find the movement and the sweeping motion to be the most authentic ones, and I think it's great. Just take a look at her overall. Just take a look at how it moves. It's pretty sweet, right? It says, Simon, hi, if I will do like this, I will be fired from my own house. Ulfat, I tried Kling, it's amazing. I can't wait to share it here and get your notes. Yeah, notes. Yeah, okay, enough about the janitor, but you saw some differences. So obviously, I really had fun here and decided to use all my credits. So while we were still in the fire department, I decided to test out something different, something without a person in it. So yeah, I have this shot with like this evening blue hour shot with the fire trucks being all lit up, which I did mostly to test out the lighting and see where it gets me. This was not a part of the original project. I did it after the project was finished because my clients had no interest in such a shot, but I did. So if I do, I will also make it possible. And of course, further thinking or further planning, I really wanted to animate this at some point, but obviously it will be something which will take a long time to do. In Corona with Vantage, I'm not quite sure if I will be able to transfer all materials with all the randomization and everything, Corona for Vantage is still a bit limited, but I decided to test how it works with AI, and this is the result. And honestly, I gotta say, I'm impressed. I think it did a very, very good job. We have this smooth camera movement. We have this convincing lighting behavior. Just take a look at this lamp, which illuminates the wall. This is pretty sweet, right? Let me take a look at the comments. Mohammed says, wow, Theo, I love this. Mohammed, hey, Mohammed, you're an expert in animation. What do you think about this? He says, nice. Danushka, yeah, I use Kling with D5, works really well so far. Simon says, haha, Amit, I hope I would do all the housework first. Yeah, this would be something. Do the housework, do the unwrapping, the modeling of the surroundings, and all of that tedious job, and let us be creative. Anyway, this is how the fire department turned out. So this is something which is obviously pretty tricky to pull off, but you see it actually worked out very, very well. Abdi says, freaking cool, and I agree with this. Let's move on to another something. So I decided, okay, I saw how it works with interiors. Let's test out an exterior, once again, without people, and just I didn't even prompt anything. I just put it into Kling because Kling is kind of... doesn't always work well with the prompts. Sometimes it just says, no, there is an error. This try again with a different prompt. At least maybe it's because of the free version. I don't know. But yeah, so at some point I decided, okay, screw it. Let's just leave it to the AI to see what it does. And this is what it did with the house. So yeah, here we have some smooth camera movement and also wonderful lighting effects. Just take a look at the sun here. This is amazing, right? Obviously, once again, the general quality dropped down. Also, we have some artifacts here and there. For example, the rims of the car, they look weird. But still, I mean, if you show this to a client, they would absolutely love it. And I don't think they will mind the small issues with the rims. Obviously, an animation like this isn't also that difficult to pull off with Corona or V-Ray or something. That's true, but nevertheless, with AI, it was even easier. I was just away, I just let it do. I went over to my renovations, and as I came back, this is what I had. And this is pretty sweet. Okay, so now we had a bit of a smaller scale. Now let's go big. Okay, so this is a project I worked on maybe 5 years ago, or pretty much 5 years ago. This is a huge building in Nuremberg, if I'm not mistaken, like the second largest empty building Germany's that I had the honor to visualize on my own. I absolutely hated it. Let me tell you, this was just so much work. But anyway, it ended up being very, very detailed. I don't know if I can zoom in here, probably not, but there is a ton of detail. You can zoom in even into the stores and see all the goods on the shelves and stuff like this. So yeah, I decided to see how AI will react to something large like this. Here, once again, Abdi was there for me and he took over the image and sent me back 2 videos. And let me show you the outcome. So the first one is actually very, very cool. It's lively. You see the cars are driving. The sky is moving. So it's very dynamic. And it also looks like a very authentic time lapse, which is pretty cool. Obviously, the people didn't work out that well. You see here, they're kind of desynchronized, so to speak. Some of them are not moving at all. Some of them just appear and rushing somewhere and then disappear. So yeah, it doesn't do a very good job with the people. The tram doesn't move at all. But when it comes to the camera movement, the vehicles and the sky movement, it's absolutely amazing, right? Okay, here it comes to the second view where I think Abdi just let it go wild, and it absolutely did. The AI went nuts with the second version you see now, because it just changes perspective and start going along the street and interpreting the surroundings. And yeah, I mean, it's a cool video. We gotta agree on this. We have a great transition between the 2 cams as well. I really love this. And I also think that the AI did a good interpretation of the square in front of my building, despite a 90-degree angle, so a fully different direction. But obviously, I mean, you see here, let's just watch it once again. You see here some people are getting run over, and yeah, the infrastructure on the second shot is absolutely nonsensical, where there is a square here middle on the street and this bridge. What is even this? But in the end of the day, it's still pretty cool and pretty interesting. And maybe, even though it's not a final project, maybe this camera switch is something which can give me an idea, because I really enjoy how the camera is more or less following some of the cars here. So maybe this could give me could be a reference to me, or maybe just inspire me to just, you know, make a camera which follows a car, where to the right we see the square and the building. The left side is not interesting, obviously, but it can be seen as a reference or as an idea. And this is already a lot, if you ask me. Then I tried Klink, and Klink came up with a time lapse. Once again, the people here more dynamic. You see, they're moving more. They still don't look good, but they're still more active. but other than that, it really shed the bed, because you see there is a tram on the street, there are cars on the walkways, people and vehicles here on the ceiling. So obviously on the roof, it's not that good. I think here FreePic did a better job, but in the end of the day, it's not about a comparison of different AI engines. It's just about the possibilities and what's in for us with the help of AI. Mario says, wait, what AI was used for the first one? Oh, which is the first one? I mean, if you mean the large building, the first two videos were from FreePic. So the FreePic video AI, this one, and the one where the camera turns 90 degrees. These are from FreePic. And on the third one, it's Kling. Okay, let's continue. So I once again wanted to change and see what we can have. And of course, obviously, if AI is already running over people and killing them, obviously disliking people, let's try it out with that ones. So my favorite skeleton, one of my favorite images I've ever made, I decided to see what AI will be doing with this one. So first time I tried it without a prompt, to see if it will see that there is smoke there, and this smoke obviously needs to be animated. And it did, but it also decided to came up with a circus trick as well. So let me present this to you. The circus clown smoking and doing a smoking trick, which came out of nowhere. It was a very fun surprise, I gotta admit. And yeah, I love this one. I would definitely keep it forever. But obviously, if we want to be a bit more professional, I needed to do a slight prompting here in order to make this cigarette coming out of nowhere disappear, and also have the smoke be a bit slower. So I did some prompting, and this is what he came up with. This time in the prompt, I said that I want the skeleton to look sad. And actually, I think it worked great. You see, the smoke looks great. And you know, the body language, or the skeletal language of my dude here is actually leaning against something sad, right? So yeah, this worked out very, very, very well, if you ask me. And finally, of course, I needed to end up everything. Mariana says, great anti-tobacco pub. I needed to end up with the favorite garden scene. And yeah, I once again, I didn't do any prompting here. So I decided to just, you know, let it be and see what AI will do. And this is what it did. It's just a classic movement towards, you know, the main focus of the scene. And honestly, it's very sweet. We have this nice calm movement which corresponds to the mood of the scene. We have this slight motion on the greenery, if you see it here, and the balloons as well. Of course, we have artifacts. The sparrows look like they have frozen cans. Things the tableware looks bad. But all in all, I must say I had fun with this. And I'm surprised how good it worked in some cases. So I think in a current state, this could be seen as a source of fun, and also in order to create eye catchers for our portfolio. So if you imagine, instead of having those, where are we? Instead of having those static images, for example, here, I could have eventually animations. I gotta see if my WordPress page actually supports this. But imagine, instead of, you know, just a static image, you go on mouse over, and instead of zooming in, it actually starts moving. This would be very, very sweet, wouldn't it? And the amount of effort I need to invest in order to make it work is really minimal. And I love when I don't have to work too much. I gotta be honest with you. So yeah, I see you're having fun as well with my experiments here. Mikkel says, wicked. Ulfad is laughing and saying, sweet. Abdi, amazing idea and results on that skeleton. I'm glad you like it. I really will be placing this soon in my Facebook or Instagram story, because I also enjoy it a lot. So yeah, this is how I see it. Obviously, it's not good enough for like final commercial works, but it's maybe something that can be used in the idea phase, especially if you want to save time on trying out animations and you want to, maybe just check out the animation with a client, and you already have a static scene, you render it out, you put it in some type of AI and prompt the animation you plan to do, describe the animation you plan to do as a prompt, and then let AI do a quick work of a few minutes, and then you have something that you can send to your client. And even though it's not perfect, I think it's a great base to discuss on. And it saves you time, which I think is great for you and your business. Abdi says WordPress supports this. Yes, I'm not sure because I have a design that I have bought, and I'm not sure if my design supports this, but I will discuss this with ChatGPT. Anyway, folks, I also wanted to show you a bit of other stuff, but we are already 2 hours and 5 minutes in, so I think it's a good moment for us to wrap today's session. I hope it was interesting for you. I hope you learned something from the reviews, from the news, or from my weird experiments here. Let's end up with the obligatory skeleton doing magic tricks, because this is just fun. Simon says, I think that importing 2 frames like first and last in Kling can produce a nice small part instead of rendering this for hours, then upscale like the past video, and it is cool for putting it inside a bigger video with other parts. Sure, I mean, I think the quality of the skeleton, not the first video with the trick, but the second one, is actually pretty good. Once again, I will most likely invest in the pro version or in the subscription of Kling or something else. I'll do my research before that. We're not here to do advertisement for AI tools, but in the end of the day, this is part of our industry. It is already there, and I think it is something that we need to check out and see how we can utilize it to the best. So yeah, there are certainly ways. I wouldn't ever want to deliver something in a current state of AI which is entirely done by AI. I wouldn't want to do it. Maybe someday, but I think that by this point AI would have become so complex that once again we will be needed to direct it to do what we want it. I don't think it will be a one-click solution where you just press AI, do your work, and then you get everything. This won't be like this, because the more options it has, the more complex it will become. So it will need somebody who is giving it general directions and telling it what to do. Because in the end of the day, this is not actual artificial intelligence. These are algorithms. Artificial intelligence could show initiative and come up with own ideas and something. But these are algorithms, and as long as they are, we will always be needed to be there and tell them what to do. So for now, I think Skynet is not such a huge threat, and we can rest assured that we are very much needed, but we can eventually try to implement this in our workflows if it fits us. Simon says, thanks for the live stream. Have a good day. You too. It was a pleasure to have you here. Abdi, thank you very much for another great show, Theo. Really enjoyed it. Keep on rocking. Keep on rocking too, Abdi. And at this point, folks, let's say our goodbyes after a 2 hour and 10 minute session. It was amazing hanging out with you as always. And I hope to see you again in 2 weeks at the same time and place. And until then, don't forget to rock on and keep it real. Much love, my friends. Goodbye.